Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I want to introduce what we're going to be doing here on a kind of bi-weekly basis. Today, we're going to learn more about Shai and his background, kind of what he was doing before joining the company and everything that happened there. Going forward, definitely going to do deeper dives into the company, recent press releases as they come out. And of course, any questions that people have, please drop them below. We will make sure we do some Q&A videos along the way. But Shai, first things first, how are you?
I'm all right. Omicron negative as of yesterday. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, awesome. So early apologies for anyone who hears the odd cough, but Shai's battling through it, so love that. Shai, let's dive into it. Usually like early kind of career successes, and then we'll walk that through kind of how you get involved in the company and go from there.
Sure. So I think what's kind of relevant to maybe to the story of my involvement in small cap biotech development, I founded my former company, which is a small biotech startup. I founded it in Israel in late 2005. And that company was named Prolor Biotech. And we in-licensed some technology from Washington University in St. Louis. So it was funny, it was an Israeli startup with the US technology that was developed in the US. And basically the concept of this whole technology drew me because it made a lot of sense to me scientifically, and it made a lot of sense to me. And we started working on a few lead programs. The technology's essence was to provide us with an ability to take drugs that are protein-based drugs that need to be injected on a certain frequency for, in chronic conditions, and create long-acting versions of those drugs so they can be maybe injected once a week instead of every day. So we kind of created a next generation version of drugs that were already in the market. And we started developing a few compounds. The lead one was a long-acting growth hormone that children could inject once a week instead of every night. Because for children that lack growth hormone, that they have growth hormone deficiency, they need to do it for many, many years. So there was a lot of value of trying to create something that they can inject once a week. We also started working on a long-acting factor 7, which is a clotting factor for hemophilia patients, and a few other compounds. In 2010, I listed the company on the New York Stock Exchange. And in 2013, I sold the company to a specialty pharma company from the US named Opco Health. That was a 560 million transaction. And they asked me to continue and run the company post-acquisition for an additional 2 years, which I did. During those 2 years, I signed a strategic partnership with Pfizer for our long-acting growth hormone, for our lead product. It was a mega deal that we signed, that was signed definitely for an endocrinology product. We received a down payment of 295 million. And there was plenty of other huge payments along the deal with additional milestones. By the way, that particular product in the hands of Pfizer received recently, in the last 2 months, received marketing approval in Canada, marketing approval in Australia, received a positive CHMP opinion in Europe, so it's probably going to be approved in Europe very shortly. I think it's a terrific product, and I hope that it's going to be a big success. In any way, once I completed my promised 2 years post-acquisition, wanted to move forward and look for my next big thing. And at that time, I was actually able, financially and professionally, to relax a little bit and look for something that's going to make a difference. It's no longer the case that you need to maybe provide for your family, and you need to, get to the next job that's going to pay you a lot of money so you can buy a vacation house or something. I already made my exit. And so I had the luxury of really trying to understand what is it that I can do that's going to be big, hopefully. It's going to change medicine And I chose to focus on cell therapy. And the reason was that cell therapy, as you probably know, is really the next frontier of medicine, or at the time was the next frontier of medicine. And the solutions are basically designed for treating life-threatening and life-ending diseases that cannot be cured, apparently, with traditional drugs and traditional protein drugs. You really need something at a higher level that is involving the immune system and immune system cells. And so I went out looking for something that can that maybe percolate my interest. And I looked at many different alternatives and investigated a lot of things, and I couldn't find something that got me excited until I fell in love with EnliveX, which is a small company that I founded here in Israel. It was founded by an incredible researcher here in Israel by the name of Professor Dror Mevorach. And by the way, his landmark paper on COVID vaccine side effects, the Pfizer COVID vaccine side effects that are there, his landmark paper was published in January 2022, was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. I mean, this guy is as high as it goes as far as researchers go. And I fell in love with him and how smart he was. And he has been, and EnliveX is based on his scientific finding and invention. And I believe in him, and I believe in the science. And I thought that this is, probably could fit in the category of changing the world. And maybe here, maybe it's time to take a step back and explain that to those that are less familiar, that in the history of development of cell therapy, essentially the first cell therapy that received FDA approval that was involving T cells was from a company named Kite Pharma, which is a very famous biotech small cap company in the US. And Kite Pharma did the amazing thing. They basically took blood from cancer patients and they isolated T cells of the immune system from this blood, and they manipulated those cells, activated them against cancer, certain cancer, and multiply them, and then reinfuse them back to the patient's body. And they took patients that had, on average, say, lifespan of 12 months. And these patients, some of them are still alive 5 years, 7 years thereafter. And it's just a really incredible revolution. And Kite Pharma, for those who are not familiar, was sold. It was a 12 billion exit to Gilead several years ago. And Kite Pharma was founded based on the invention, scientific invention, of an Israeli high-end professor from the Weizmann Institute named Professor Zeli Geschar, who I know and who's a friend of many of my friends. So when we went out looking for the next big thing for us to do, me and my team from Prolor, and we found Professor Mevorach and we found EnliveX, we thought that at that time that probably if we execute and do it right, we can take that cell therapy to be the next big thing following the invention of Kite. And the reason is because what Kite has done, and Kite and its generation of companies, is incredible. However, the solution fits to about 10% of cancers. And it doesn't work on the other 90% of cancers. So there's like a new crop of inventions, innovations, and companies. Some of them are private, some of them are publicly traded on NASDAQ, that started working on the next generation of solution for the 90% that these engineered T cells by Kite, or this particular method doesn't work. And so people started working on other types of immune cells, not only T cells, but there are, in our immune system, there are plenty of other cells. And if T cells were the solution for everything, then humans would just have T cells in their, right, from an evolutionary, holistic perspective. But we have other cells. We have natural killer cells, and we have macrophage. We have a bunch of cells, right? So some companies started working on other types of manipulation of cells from the immune system to see if they can add to the treatment options for these life-threatening and life-ending indications. And so there's an amazing company called Fate Therapeutics that is doing engineered natural killer cells, and another amazing company called Encarta, which is doing also engineered natural killer cells, and an amazing company called Rubius, which is doing engineered red blood cells. So all these companies, the common thread is that they all represent the next generation of cell therapy, the next barrier to pass, which is how do we tackle the 90% of the cases that have not been treated with the previous generation. And EnliveX is right there with them. And EnliveX, and the reason why I got so excited was that EnliveX has this key differentiated value proposition, which is we are focusing on cells in the immune system called macrophages. And I don't want to bore you with the whole story of macrophages, but just take my word for it that macrophages have a crucial role in disease resolution. So regardless of the disease, by the way, could be a terrible infectious disease that may lead to organ failure and mortality, and can be cancer cells that may lead to mortality. And macrophages are involved in all of those, in disease resolution in a healthy body. So in a sick body, it means that the macrophages need help. They just can't do it alone. And we have the technology, or Professor Movorach developed the technology to modulate these macrophages. And I thought it was ingenious. And I looked at the scientific data, and through the years that I'm involved with the company, I looked at the clinical data that we've obtained to date, and it just seems to be working really well. And I think that if we are able to execute on our stated milestones in 2022, 2023, we have a chance of demonstrating that this technology is really the leader among all of these technologies that I mentioned that represent the next generation of therapies that pass the barrier and can offer help to those that cannot be helped today. When I did a presentation internally at the company a few months ago, and in one of my slides, I had the slide, and I asked my team, I said, what do we do? And they said, well, we develop cell therapies. That's correct. How do we do it? Well, we modulate macrophages. That's correct. But my third slide was, why are we all here? Why are we here? Why are all of us sitting here? And the answer is, we are going to cure the incurable. We are the team right here that will complete the development of this macrophage modulating technology that we believe will provide something that no one else can provide. And this is why we're here, and this is why I'm here.
I love it. The passion comes across while you're talking, which is amazing. And of course, we're gonna do deeper dives into the company. You get to maybe pull up some of those slides, going forward. And I want to invite anyone with questions, please drop them below. We'll make sure we're doing a lot of things, deeper dives into the technology, questions people have, you name it. And really kind of talking through what makes EnliveX different than things out there. But you did a great job, and incredible background. Really, my last question for you, and you're the executive chair. Curious. A lot of people are, they ask, well, what's involved in that title? What does your day-to-day, week-to-week look like? And so I'd love to ask you that.
Sure. So the luxury of being as I said, fortunately, the luxury of fortunately being successful is that you can pick and choose what it is that you want to do, right? And one of the roles that I always wanted to do is executive chairman. Okay, and there's a difference from being a CEO and being executive chairman. It's like being a father or a grandfather. Right? So in a way, a father has to wake up in the middle of the night with a baby, right? Crying or teething and working really hard with it. And then the grandfather arrives at 9 a.m. when the baby is already relaxed and playing with the baby and teaching him a few things, and then going home and taking a nap, right? And so forth. So executive chairman basically is all the fun and almost none of the grit. So basically what that means is that I have the ability to contribute, I think from my, I would say, competitive advantage in a way, okay? And I have a complementary skill. I've been through many different things. And so when I sit there, there's a huge advantage because when you're a CEO, you're busy from morning until night. There are so many things. You're reviewing the lease agreement of the new factory in the morning, and then there's a new manual policy of vacation policy of the employees, and you're working so hard and doing so many things. And that's what I've done previously in my former company. Here, sometimes it's great to have someone that is one step removed from the endless doing of every day. And that someone has the ability to think. And think actually means strategy and competitive positioning. And what indications should we go after? What indications should we let go? Do we need to acquire additional technologies? How are we going to finance this company? Am I going to talk to potential partners today? Yeah, I'm probably going to do that. What does our IP portfolio look like? And does it fit what we, where we want to go? So there are all these strategic things that someone at the executive chair position essentially needs to take care of and to basically lead the company. Well, the CEO has an incredible important role of taking all of that and implementing it, right? And implementing it essentially at a daily level. So some companies, the CEO is also the executive chair in a way. So there's no executive chair. There is chairman maybe, and some directors, and the most powerful person in the company is the CEO. He's the guy, right, or the gal that founded the company and leading the way, and so that's what happened to me in my former company. Right, my former company, I didn't have an executive chair above me. I just ran the company, and it was all in my creation, right? Here, the CEO is more of a professional CEO. It's more professional CEO. And I think that this is actually a healthier structure than what I had previously. I wish I had an executive chair that was able to complement me and maybe would have prevented me from making certain mistakes that I did, and that I hopefully learned from. So I'm trying just to give all the value that is unique to me. And I'm trying not to interfere with anything that anybody else is doing. I'm the grandfather, remember? So.
No, I love you made a lot of great points. You get to focus on, the long term, the strategy, the IP portfolio, positioning in the market, and you're not caught up in that day-to-day battle that the CEO is constant. So yeah, no, look, love it. And thanks for taking the time to do these videos. Of course, I want to thank you on behalf of everyone who's going to be watching these and asking questions. And, look forward to, of course, going through a lot of these questions people are going to ask and, further detail about the company going forward.